Contenders like William Byron and Denny Hamlin are breathing a sigh of relief, while playoff surprises like Alex Bowman and Chase Briscoe are full of confidence heading into a windy round of 12. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove on the Go, coming to you from a blustery Kansas Speedway. Cup Series qualifying is currently happening all around me, but we've got some news and some comments from playoff drivers to react to here this afternoon. We'll start with Kaulig Racing. Today, the team confirmed that 32-year-old driver Ty Dillon will drive full-time in the NASCAR Cup Series next season. The team is retiring the number 31, at least for now, and will run the number 10 alongside the number 16 next season. More on that in a moment. Focusing on Ty Dillon, this year has not been great in the Craftsman Truck Series, driving for Rackley War. Only 2 top 10 finishes. This is a team that 1 year ago made the playoffs with Matt DiBenedetto. This year they look like a shell of their former selves. And it doesn't help Ty Dillon that the owner's son, Dawson Sutton, just got in the 25 truck last night and scored a top 5 in his first appearance as a full-time Truck Series driver. So I like Ty Dillon. He's a good dude, but this is a money decision for Kaulig Racing. Ty Dillon obviously has connections to Richard Childress Racing, but he's been in racing for many years. He's built up some strong partnerships. He has loyal sponsors behind him. That's what this is. And to Ty Dillon's credit, being sponsor-friendly is half the job. It may even be more than half the job. The problem is, for most fans watching this at home, it's the half of the job we all care the least about. We care more about what happens on the racetrack Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I mean, I'm happy for him. Kaulig Racing will have AJ Allmendinger and Ty Dillon racing full-time next year. That means that Daniel Hemrick is out. Daniel Hemrick's return to the Cup Series has not been great this year. He's tied for 28th in points. He has 4 top 10 finishes. He released a statement on social media today. He says, "The desire to win on Sundays will always burn inside of me. I'm focused and full of intention to finish the last 7 races of this season as strong as we can while continuing to build on whatever the next chapter of this journey holds for me." Not sure where Daniel Hemrick ends up. We've seen sponsors Circle, Poppy Bank follow him place to place, so I'm sure he'll be able to bring that support somewhere. The guy is an Xfinity Series champion. We can't discount that. If I had to pick between Ty Dillon and Daniel Hemrick and all I cared about was ability behind the wheel, I would probably take Daniel Hemrick. They are similar in age, but Hemrick, at least more recently, has the stronger resume. But there you go. Ty Dillon in, Daniel Hemrick out, Kaulig Racing making some moves ahead of 2025. But 2025 is still months away. We are focused this weekend and over the next several weekends on the 2024 NASCAR playoffs. I got the chance today to talk and listen to every playoff driver in the field talk about Kansas, Talladega, the Charlotte Roval. Some were still talking about Bristol last week. William Byron, for one, is relieved to be through the round of 16 into the round of 12. Dominant at times earlier in the season, more inconsistent recently, but he did what he had to do at Bristol. This was William Byron today.
It was good to get through, and definitely a relief because, we weren't in a great spot, so we weren't really on offense the rest of the race. So just trying to get as many points as we could, and glad we could get through it.
William Byron should be back on offense this weekend. I asked his teammate Chase Elliott about this being the first traditional mile-and-a-half race in months, and if that could present any unknowns. Chase Elliott didn't think so.
I think that, the spring race here was a pretty good representation of what this weekend will be like. At least that's kind of my guess going in, and we'll run the practice and see if something stands out, but I don't think so.
Well, Chase Elliott's weekend has gotten off to a rocky start. Sounded like he had some sort of engine issue in practice. I'm not sure if he's putting down a qualifying lap. I'll put something in the comment section below, an update if you will. After Kansas, the Cup Series heads to Talladega and the Charlotte Roval. There's a reason folks call this the wild card round. I asked Alex Bowman, who was one of the big surprises in the first round, about his success at some of these wild card tracks. Does that make those races any more predictable for you and your team? He said no, Kansas is still the most predictable race this round.
I mean, I think Talladega is a wild card in the round, right? Like, people point at the Roval, and yeah, crazy stuff can happen there, but it's kind of a it's just a road course race at this point, right? We're all pretty used to it. So the tweaks they've made there can definitely change that, though. So I'm excited to see what's there. I think this is the most normal race of the round. So we'll wait and see.
Alex Bowman ran really well in the opening round, but Chase Briscoe has been perhaps the biggest surprise over the past month. In the last 4 races, he has a 1st, a 6th, and an 8th place finish. Stewart Haas is shutting down. Briscoe is headed to Toyota. This team has every excuse to phone in these final few weeks, but they are doing the exact opposite.
Yeah, it's been humbling, just from the whole company kind of, all embracing the 14 car and doing everything they can to make the 14 car have the best potential to win the championship. Like, SHR from the day I've been there has never worked as well as they have right now. Like, all 4 crew chiefs, all 4 drivers, the 10 car's been going to the racetrack, identical does every week for the last 3 weeks, and even this week now the 4 car as well. So I do think that's a little unique, where since I am the only car in, and even just our situation with the whole team shutting down, like all the resources, all the effort, all the focus, everything they got is on us right now, right? So that's different. No other team can say that. Penske still has 3 cars, and they're all 3 trying to make the next round. Where for us, especially at a place like Talladega next week, I do think it'll make a difference. Just because I'm going to have 3 teammates that are super committed to doing everything they can to help me.
On that last note about having the whole team behind him, that being an advantage, I asked Ryan Blaney about that because all 3 Team Penske Fords are still alive. Team Penske is in a completely different position now than they were this time 1 year ago. I asked Blaney if that could present any challenges.
I think it's good. I don't think it's a disadvantage at all to have 3 guys still in it. I think it's great morale for our whole company. We still have 3 chances to win a championship for Team Penske, and we all rally around each other. And we still learn from each other. I think it's the same thing, with the SHR situation of him being the only guy in, right? Okay, it's like all hands on deck for that car. And, I think there could be an advantage to that. Like when I got to the round of 8 last year and Joey and Austin were out, I was like, okay, all hands on deck for my car. They're going to run our setup and then we're going to go from there. I feel like that could have positives to it, but I think as like a confidence thing with our whole organization having 3 cars in it, we still work really well together. There's no rivalries in our stuff. Like we still rely on each other because we have to compete. So I think it's more beneficial, I feel like, when you have more cars in it. I don't think it takes away from anybody at all.
I do think Chase Briscoe has an advantage here, but for Ryan Blaney, his advantage is that Team Penske is just better overall, more consistently than Stewart Haas. The playing field is more even, though. I'm watching Chase Briscoe closely. He made up a 21-point deficit in the first round. He's only 7 points below the cut line now. That's no big deal, right? Speaking of Chase Briscoe, he's on baby watch. His wife Marissa is due potentially any day now. He was asked if there's a contingency plan in place, and Briscoe basically said, nope, not really.
I got to practice, I got to qualify, and I got to race. So, I'm here. We're in the playoffs. Obviously, if I wasn't in the playoffs, I would be home if something happened. But, the contingency plan is I'm here to race for a championship. Marissa understands that. It obviously would get tricky if it comes at certain times, but I haven't told Richard if it happens during the race, don't tell me. Just tell me as soon as we take the checker flag, hey, look, Marissa went into labor, so I can get out of the car and just go as fast as I can.
Hey, the dude is a racer through and through. He knows what's at stake. Some fans might find this interesting. Obviously, Chase Briscoe is joining Joe Gibbs Racing next year, but Joe Gibbs has already come to his family's rescue here in the past few weeks, helping them organize transportation to and from the track. I thought this was kind of cool.
Coach has been amazing. The last 4 or 5 weeks, he's called me every single week, and we've set up a plan just whether it's the plane being here, Bristol helicopter, whatever it was, just anything he could do to help. And even he's called, texted Marissa, telling her that he's praying for her. So it's just been a really amazing thing that Coach is willing to do that for me so I can be there. So hopefully I don't have to use it. But even last week, SHR, we didn't have a plane at Bristol. Everybody drove, so I actually flew on the Gibbs team plane, which was a little awkward after knocking some of their cars out. But Coach has been awesome in the whole process.
Say what you will about Joe Gibbs Racing. That's the difference between an active team owner and an absent team owner. I really like the situation Chase Briscoe is stepping into next season. But not to get too far ahead of myself, I know we're talking a lot about Chase Briscoe. Frankly, he gave some of the most interesting answers today, and he has been one of the most interesting stories the past couple weeks. Speaking of Stewart-Haas, big news this past weekend. Chase Briscoe's getting a new pit crew. They are swapping Chase Briscoe and Josh Berry's team. Briscoe addressed that in the media center today.
Yeah, the pit crew thing's tough because guys that I've had have been on it for the last year and a half. Really, well, they got changed whenever Harvick was in the playoffs, so I'm back kind of with my original guys. But yeah, it's tough. They've been able to be there and get us to this point, right? And that's a decision that truthfully is made above me. I didn't even know it was happening until they called me on Monday. And, the big thing I think for me is I just told those guys, I texted them all, I said, look, you guys are just as much of the 14 team as you were last week. Like, I know it probably doesn't feel that way right now, but obviously, Zippy and just everybody at SHR felt like that's what gave us the best opportunity to try to, move on and try to advance to the next round. And last week was, a struggle, right? Like, we had a couple bad pit stops, but there's tons of races that I have bad mistakes too, and it's just a tough situation, right? All the way around. You don't want guys to, be on the 14 and then get kicked off, but that's the decision that obviously was made, and gotta just try to move on from it. I told Josh on the way over here today, I said your pit crew's going to be on it this weekend. I got a lot to prove, so I think it'll be good. But definitely hate it for those guys just because they were like family to me, right? So it's just tough situation all the way around.
Let's talk about two top contenders to wrap things up here. Tyler Reddick, so steady, so consistent all year long. Watkins Glen and Bristol looked a bit shaky. Fortunately for Tyler Reddick fans, he seems to know what the problem was, and the team sounds confident heading into the next round.
We're not scratching our heads as to why we ran that bad. We know what caused it. Yeah, it is what it is. It stinks, but we get to reset and start over this round where we were to begin it.
Finally, so much was made of Denny Hamlin counting points in the first round. He just slipped through into the round of 12. He says now the goal is just to control what they can control and let the results fall where they will. Sounds a lot more relaxed, perhaps. Not thinking quite as hard as he was, especially at Atlanta.
Truthfully, we're going to just try to win this weekend and then not have to worry about numbers. But certainly, we're going to approach these three races and try to get all we can. And live with the result no matter what it is. We can't control things we can't control. We just don't have the buffer entering these rounds that what we did before. So, you use the numbers to try to help you make the best decisions possible. But I think the best avenue for us going forward is just to go all out.
Fun to hear the different thoughts and perspectives from the 12 different playoff drivers ahead of this wild card round. Kansas Speedway tomorrow, USA Network. Thanks for watching this video, folks. A little different than what I usually do, but when I'm at the track, I like to talk to people and share some of those comments with you. Thank you to my Patreon supporters. Thanks to you guys, I'm able to travel to as many races as I do. This wind, I hope this microphone is doing the job, because it's, oh my goodness. Wow. I don't remember what I was talking about, but yeah, Kansas Speedway tomorrow. Round of 12 begins. Enjoy the racing this weekend. I'll talk to you again soon.